We're going to be talking about the Telnet and Cisco Discovery Protocol. As far as Telnet goes, we're going to be talking about just telnetting from the router. Telnetting from the router, not telnetting into the router. So this is strictly managing telnet from inside the router and telnetting to other devices. How do we initiate that telnet session to another device? Suspending telnet sessions, managing telnet sessions, and how do we end telnet sessions? And not only telnet sessions that we've initiated from the router, but also outside telnet sessions that have telnetted into the router. After CDP, or after Telnet, we're going to be talking about Cisco Discovery Protocol and how we use Cisco Discovery Protocol and what it's for, as well as enabling and disabling the Cisco Discovery Protocol. In my simulator, I've set up two routers in a back-to-back connection, Palestra 1 and Palestra 2. I have full connectivity, I've set the IPs, I can ping back and forth, and I've set some passwords. So let's take a look at connecting to Palestra 1 and then going and telnetting to Palestra 2 router. I get into user mode or privilege mode, and all I have to do to type to the other device, or to telnet to the other device, is type telnet 192.168.1.2. This just happens to be the IP address of Palestra 2. Again, I just want to put the IP address of the device I'm trying to telnet to. This is telnetting from the router. Again, not telnetting to it. So I type in telnet, the IP, hit enter, and I've connected to Palestra 2. Now, to be able to do this, there has to be a password on Palestra 2 under line VTY04. If I were to try to telnet in to this device, which I've just done successfully, and there was no password here, what would happen is you would get an error saying password required but none set. By default, the Cisco routers are not going to let anyone telnet in unless there's been a password set. It's a security issue. So, again, there's got to be a password here. Now, once I've telnetted in, I can go in and manage Palestra 2 just like I was sitting there at the prompt or connected through the line console. If I want to suspend my telnet session, I have to hold the keys down, Control-Shift-6, and hit the letter X. And look what happens to my prompt. I go back to Palestra 1. The telnet session is still active, I'm just not using it. Let me show you that control sequence. I brought up a slide with the commands you're going to be using for your telnet. Telnet space the IP address gets you in, but when you want to get out without exiting all the way out and ending your session, you have to use this escape sequence, Control-Shift-6X. And what you do is you hold these three keys down first. I hold Control, then Shift, then 6. I let go, and then tap the X. So I just Control-Shift-6, let go, tap the X. It takes a little practice. If I want to see who I've telnetted into, I can go in and do the show sessions, and I can take a look at where I've telnetted. I could also use the command where. Either one will work. This is an older command. Where is an older command. So show sessions, and I'll go in and see who I've connected to. Let me bring the prompt back up, and I will type in show sessions. If I spell it right. And it shows me that I've telnetted into router 1 and router 2. I've actually telnetted into two. I've telnetted into myself, and I've telnetted into router 2, Palestra 2 right here. If I want to end the connection to Palestra 2 and get rid of it, what I do is I use the command disconnect. So I'm in Palestra 1, I've telnetted Palestra 2 and suspended the session. So what I use the command disconnect. Disconnect to kill the session. Real quick though, notice there's an asterisk right next to both of these connections right here. Typically, again, I'm in a simulator, sometimes things are a little different. On a real router, I'd only have an asterisk next to one of these sessions. And what the session would be is it would show me where I've telnetted last. So this little asterisk here would be the telnet session that I've telnetted into last. So I type disconnect to, hit enter, closes the connection. Show sessions. And it shows me I only have one session going on. If I hit disconnect, one, it'll kill that session. So I do show sessions, and no connections are open. That disconnect command isn't the only way to kill my session. If I want to go back in and telnet to Palestra 2 again, and I'm in Palestra 2, let me get in there. So I'm in the Palestra 2 router, I've telnetted in. I could use the Control-Shift-6 X sequence and get back out. Notice my prompt says Palestra 1 now. But if I'm in Palestra 2 and I want to end the session, let me type, let me get back in there, show sessions. I do show sessions. See how it shows me my connection number 1 here? If I want to get back into it, I type resume 1. The simulator didn't like the space. Again, on a normal router, that is something I could put in there. This thing's a little bit fickle. So I type resume, connection 1, and it gets me back in. So I'm back in. If I want to exit out, and I'm not worried about leaving the session open, I'm not planning on going back in there, if I just type in exit, it'll disconnect me from Palestra 2 and kill the session. So if I do show sessions, no connections are open. Now I've brought up my slide again. We've talked about this Control-Shift-6 X, the show sessions command that allows us to see our open sessions, and the disconnect command. There's one command I left off of here, and that's resume. Resume allows us to go in and resume a session. So if I've gone in, I've telnetted to multiple devices, I've used my show sessions command, or I've typed in where, and I want to get back into an existing connection, I can use this resume command, and then I would specify the session number. So based on the number of the session, I type resume session number, and it'll take me back in. Let's take a look at using that. I've telnetted into Palestra 2, set it up, and then I used Control-Shift-6 X and exited out. So right now I'm at Palestra 1 again, but I have an active connection to Palestra 2. I type show sessions, and it'll show me that I have that session going on right now. So what I can do is I can use the resume command. I type resume, the number, and hit enter, and it takes me back to Palestra 2. Again, Control-Shift-6 X exits me out, and I can use my show sessions command to view the session. So resume, and then the session number will get me back in. On a normal router as well, if you have active telnet sessions, a lot of times you can just hit the session number. Like you can just put in the number 1, whatever the session number is, and hit enter without the resume command. As well as I can just hit enter, and whatever the last telnet session I had was, it would take me back into it. But the proper way is just using the resume command and the session number to get back into a suspended telnet session. I've brought the command slide back up, and there are two other commands I want to go over real quick: the show users command and the clear line command. Now the show users command is the command that we use to show who has telnetted into our router. So if I'm at Palestra 1 and I type in, an old command would be who, or show users, it'll show me who has telnetted into me. And what I can do is with the clear line command, I can type in clear line, then the line number, and kick them out. So we've gone over the telnet, Control-Shift-6 X, show sessions, disconnect, the resume command, show users, and clear line. Now I want to talk a little bit more about the Cisco discovery protocol and what that will do for us. I've brought up my simulator, and in my simulator I've gone in and configured 3 routers. I set up Palestra 1, Palestra 2, and Palestra 3. I'm going to be using these to demonstrate what CDP can do for you, Cisco Discovery Protocol. And as you might guess by the name of the protocol, Cisco Discovery Protocol allows us to identify directly connected Cisco devices. So we can go in and check out what devices made by Cisco we are directly connected to. Right now I'm at Palestra 1 and I type in enable. I'm going into privilege mode here. There are a few different commands we can use with CDP. There's a few different commands we can use with CDP. I'm going to type in show CDP and hit enter. What this shows me is that by default, my Cisco device is sending CDP packets out every 60 seconds. So all up and up interfaces, it's going to send these CDP packets out every 60 seconds. It tells the remote devices or next hop devices to hold on to that information, saying, hey, this information's good for 180 seconds. And CDP version 2 advertisements is enabled. There are two different versions of CDP. Now, what we can do is, I can type in show CDP and put a question mark, and I see 4 different options for Cisco Discovery Protocol. CR, carriage return, means I just hit enter, and that's where I get this information. Sending CDP packets out every 60 seconds, hold 180, version 2 advertisements enabled. If I type in neighbors, what it'll do is it'll show me brief information about all neighboring Cisco devices. I can hit tab to complete it since I don't like to type, and I can go in and type that out. I'm at Palestra 1, and what that's showing me, and again if I look at my net map, I have Palestra 1, and it shows me a connection to Palestra 2 and Palestra 3. So this device right here has a direct connection to Palestra 2 and Palestra 3. And that's what it shows me here. Palestra 2, I connect to Palestra 2 on serial 0 of my router, and the next hop device is a router, the type of router it is, and I connect to Palestra 2's serial 0 interface. This can be very helpful when you're trying to figure out how things are physically connected. It can help you map out a network. So serial 0 on my router connects to serial 0 on Palestra 2. Serial 1 on my router connects to serial 0 on Palestra 3. So that shows CDP neighbors. I can also get detailed information about my neighboring devices by show CDP Neighbors Detail command. Here's the output from the show CDP Neighbors Detail command. So I type in show CDP Neighbors Detail, and it gives me detailed information about these directly connected devices. Palestra 2, I'm directly connected to, has an IP address of 192.168.1.2. Shows me what type of router it is, what capabilities it's got, what port I connect to on it, as well as operating system information about that directly connected device. Now let's look at Palestra 3. Notice on this one, address. If you look at Palestra 2 here, the address is 192.168.1.2. Here, it doesn't show an IP address under entry addresses. There is no IP address. And the reason there isn't an IP address showing is because I did not bother to configure an IP address on Palestra 3. The reason I didn't bother to configure an IP address on Palestra 3 is I wanted to let you know that this is not reliant on layer 3 being up. You do not need to be able to ping for this to work. So I don't need an IP address. All I need is layer 1 and layer 2 functioning, and I'll get the CDP information. What's nice about that is if I'm troubleshooting, I'm checking out my IP address, and I see on serial 0 here I've got 1.1, 192.168.2.1. I'm trying to troubleshoot IP connectivity. I'm gone in and I do show interfaces, and my interfaces are in the up and up state, so I know layer 1 is good, and I know layer 2 is good. So this is layer 1, this is layer 2. They're both good. I want to check out IPs. I can use my show CDP details to check out the IP addresses of the next top devices. And what that can tell me is whether or not my IP address is configured correctly and their IP address is configured correctly. They must share the same network address for this to work. So show CDP neighbor Detail shows me that information. Here, I'm trying to ping Palestra 3, and I can't. And I go, oh, let me check it out. They don't have an IP address. So since they don't have an IP address, I can't ping, so I'd have to go in and set one up. So very helpful that this is not reliant on layer 3 information to function. Let's take a look at some of these other CDP commands. Show CDP, question mark. Entry. I can do show CDP entry, and what it wants is it'll ask me basically for the name of a Cisco device. If I do show CDP entry and actually put an asterisk, it gives me detailed information, well, it should give me detailed information about all neighboring Cisco devices. This command is the equivalent of the show Cdp Neighbors Detail. That command is exactly the same as this command right here. The only difference is in the simulator, show CDP Neighbor Detail works, show CDP entry asterisk does not. But if it did work on the simulator, this is what we'd be getting, the exact same information, detailed information about all neighboring devices. I can also do show CDP entry and then type in the name of a directly connected device. Let's say I know what device I'm troubleshooting, Palestra 2, and it gives me detailed information only about Palestra 2. And that's something I can't do with the CDP Neighbors command. It always shows me all directly connected devices. Let's take a look at a couple of others as well. Show CDP Interface. Right now, it shows me all the interfaces that CDP is enabled on. Serial 0, Serial 1, Ethernet 0. Even though Ethernet 0 is down, it's enabled for CDP. I might not want CDP running on all interfaces. If I have an interface that connects to a service provider, I might not want to send out my IP address, my platform, my operating system version. I might not want to be broadcasting that information out. So I can go in and turn CDP off based on an interface value, or I can turn it off for the entire device if I want. Let's go in and shut CDP off on the serial 0 interface. So I go INT or interface serial 0, and what I do at the interface is I type in no CDP enable, and it turns CDP off at the interface. If I do show CDP interface, what happens is it shows me serial 1 is up and Ethernet 0 is down, and that CDP is running for serial 1 and it's running for Ethernet 0 even though Ethernet 0 is down. It's enabled on those interfaces, but I don't see serial 0 in here. So I've shut it off for serial 0 interface only. If I want to turn it back on for that interface, I go back to that interface and I type CDP enable. And that turns it back on. Now when I do show CDP interface and hit enter, it shows me serial 0 again. So now it's enabled for serial 0, serial 1, Ethernet 0. If I want to turn it off for the whole router, it is no CDP run in global mode. Things that affect the entire router are going to be done in global mode here. I know I'm in global mode because it says config in parentheses as well as the pound sign. So, no CDP run, enter, Control Z, show CDP interface. I don't get anything. It says CDP not running, show CDP. CDP not enabled. So in a lot of devices, especially if you're working for service providers, things like that, CDP will not be enabled because it broadcasts information you might not want everybody to get. If I want to turn it back on, I typed no CDP run before, so now I just type CDP run, turns it back on. Show CDP, it's up, show CDP interface, and it's running. The last command, if I do show CDP question mark, traffic, just shows me CDP traffic statistics. How many packets, how many input packets, information like that. So good information. Now, one other thing I want to talk about before we end this discussion about CDP is how it works. I know we've already talked about how it works, but if I do show CDP neighbors, I see Palestra 2 and Palestra 3, directly connected Cisco devices. If we look at our net map, Palestra 1 is directly connected to 2 and directly connected to 3. This is important because I want you to know if you go to Palestra 2, which we'll do, if I go over to Palestra 2 and I type show CDP neighbors, I will only see Palestra 1. I will not see Palestra 3. It only shows me directly connected Cisco devices. Let's take a look. Oops. Palestra 2, show CDP neighbors. The only directly connected Cisco device is Palestra 1. If I go to Palestra 3, its only directly connected Cisco device, again, is Palestra 1. So it only shows you directly connected Cisco devices. I've brought this CDP slide up, and I just want to go over those commands again. We've gone over show CDP, which shows us directly, actually just shows us that CDP is running. And again, Cisco Discovery Protocol is used to find directly connected Cisco devices. Show CDP Interface shows us what interfaces CDP is running on. Show CDP Neighbors with the detail option. Now, show CDP Neighbors without the detail option just gives us brief information about neighboring devices. With detail, it gives us detailed information such as IP, platform, as well as other things. So a lot of detailed information. Show CDP entry with a router name will give us detailed information about one device, or with the asterisk gives us the same output as show CDP neighbors detail. Detailed information about all neighboring Cisco devices. Show CDP traffic shows us traffic statistics. CDP run and CDP enable show us or allow us to turn on or off CDP. If we do no CDP run, it turns it off for the whole device. That's global mode. If we do no CDP enable, it turns it off per interface. If we want to turn it back on, we just do CDP run or just do CDP enable. Now I've brought up my outline slide and just want to go over again what we've talked about in this video. We've talked about telnetting from the router, not to the router, how we initiate those telnet sessions, how we can suspend and manage those telnet sessions, and how we can end telnet sessions. Not only telnet sessions from our router, but telnet sessions into our router while we're at the router itself using the show users and clear line command. Cisco Discovery Protocol allowing us to find out about directly connected Cisco devices, switches and routers, using CDP, all our show commands for it, as well as enabling and disabling CDP. Again, if you have a public interface connected to a service provider, you'd probably want to disable CDP because that broadcasts information about your device out the public domain or out that public interface.